How we doing, folks? Doing another best ball draft for you, and we're gonna be doing the puppy for a while, which is the $5 buy-in tournament. We will be getting back into some more Best Ball Mania 2s, but I'm only going to be doing those either Monday if I end up in Peter's stream, or I'm waiting until August to get some more, because I kind of have like enough teams now that I would like to wait until more of the casual players get in. So having more casual players in your draft can be a negative as well as a positive, because they will take people randomly out of ADP. And so this is my Twitter friend slash guy who checks out some of my videos. I was inverted here at the 102. So we'll kind of critique his draft a bit for him as we go. He's had a really good finish last year, so he's definitely a good player. I think he split one of the contests. But I definitely think you can have people that are less experienced critique stuff of yours. You just got to be careful about what information that you're taking from them. So we'll try to give him a little help. He's given me help on Twitter with some things, and we've discussed some players that we have different opinions on, some players that we have the same opinions on. We may be looking at possibility of getting a Diggs Ridley at the turn here. Which is a start I'm looking for a specific game stack with Buffalo and Atlanta for Week 17. I don't really plan to do it very much, so also Diggs often goes before the 112 now, so might not be available to us at all. So he was picked 2, and of course I was like, I kind of hope I don't get Diggs now. So we're going to start with Diggs Ridley. See if we can build out this Buffalo game stack. I'm deciding if I want to super force it once. And by super force it, I mean take like Pitts and Allen rounds 3 and 4. I haven't really decided if I want to do that once or not. I do think it would be like interesting, because you're taking kind of an ADP bath there, but you would get a very unique Week 17 game stack once, and then just kind of slam RBs after your first 4 picks for a bit. So we've started Diggs Ridley. We're not going to really do this very often. This is only my second time that I've done it. The first time I ended up, I don't know, my draft went weird. I ended up taking CeeDee Lamb in round 3 because I have like no ownership on him. And see if I can pull that team up. So I wound up taking CeeDee Lamb in round 3, and it ended up making my team like very, very strange. Here it is. So this was my other opportunity to kind of get the huge Buffalo Atlanta Week 17 game stack, and I think it kind of went awry. So I ended up, my team's like fine. My running backs ended up Gaskin, Hunt, James Robinson, Damian Harris, and Gordon, because I didn't take a running back until rounds 5 and 6. So the weird thing here is that CeeDee Lamb actually fell to me, and I believe I was pick 11, yeah. And I just don't really have hardly any CeeDee Lamb, so I kind of like freaked out and just took him because I wanted to get that ownership. And then Kyle, because I was kind of planning on taking Kyle Pitts in round 4, and then praying to God that Josh Allen made it to me in round 5, which is like rare but not impossible. The problem is that the guy behind me took Kyle Pitts before I could take him in round 4. He took him at the 3-4 turn. So then I just took Josh Allen to ensure that I would have an Allen Diggs stack, which I don't really mind because, like, it's nice to have a few Allen Diggs stacks, and they're almost impossible to get at ADP. So I think I might have one. I think I have one Allen Diggs stack where I got Diggs in round 2 and Allen in round 5, both of those things have become more difficult to do. So overall, I don't think this team is bad or anything. It's like fine. It's probably going to need, the bottom part of the wide receiver group here is like very sketchy. So it probably needs like 2 of those 3 guys to work out if it's going to win a tournament. Let's go back here and see what we got going on. So I kind of got to decide if I want to super force this game stack once. If I'm going to do it, it's probably better to have done it in the puppy, which is like a $5 buy-in as opposed to the $25 buy-in. I mean, with J.K. Dobbins off the board, with Chris Carson off the board, okay. So we are going to do it this one time. This is our super forced game stack for Atlanta. So it's the only time we're doing this. I don't highly recommend this. You're losing 8 spots of ADP at Kyle Pitts, and you're losing 13 at Josh Allen. So we will try to pick up some ADP later, but I mean, the earlier the round, the worse it is to lose ADP. But we're really just doing this one time because I want to kind of see how it turns out. That game, week 17, is in Buffalo, so it obviously could be terrible weather, especially since week 17. Well, week 17, I think, is the same week, but week 18 is now the last week, which is a week later. The one reason why I'm not completely freaking out over the game being in Buffalo, in January 2nd, is just because last year, week 16 was Buffalo versus Denver in Denver, which also should have been bad weather, and I think it might have even been kind of cold and a little snowy, but Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs combined for about 75 fantasy points in that game, and I kind of was not really fading the stack, but it wasn't prioritizing the stack because of that game. So I was looking at, championship week and prioritizing certain stacks, and definitely that one was off my radar just because the game was in Denver late in the season. So let's take a look at Paul's team. It's got Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, George Kittle. This is a fantastic start. Guess he'll be looking to get probably a Minnesota stack and maybe also a Trey Lance stack going. Golladay. Oh, he had already made his other pick. So for me there, when he picked Golladay, I definitely would have picked Josh Jacobs. I love those workhorse running backs, and he's kind of the last one where I feel like I knew I'm getting a workhorse running back. I do realize that he is going to lose touches to Kenyon Drake, but the overall pool of touches for the Raiders running backs is absolutely fucking massive. So in my mind, they're going to kind of cut Jalen Richard out since Drake does what Jalen Richard does better. And if it's just Jacobs and Drake, there's still enough touches for Jacobs to basically be a normal workhorse running back on a different team. So we definitely will be highly interested in running backs at our pick. We can pick other positions as well. Brandon Ayuk has a lot of interest to me. The wide receivers after Brandon Ayuk do not. Ayuk does share a bye week with Atlanta, but that's not really an issue for us because we're not going to be looking to get another Atlanta piece. We got the 2 Atlanta pieces we want. The only other Atlanta player we have any sort of interest in whatsoever is Matt Ryan. We're definitely taking Mike Davis. Also part of this game stack, but more just based on his value there. Now we're going to decide if we want to take Ayuk or take another running back. Gonna take Ayuk. We will see what becomes available to us for running backs in the future. So Mike Davis being part of this game stack isn't the worst. So the thought is in these game stacks, when you have DFS matchups, is one team scoring a fuck ton of points and the other team scoring less, but still a lot of points, but having to throw a bazillion passes because they're getting wrecked by the team. So we're going to kind of be on the hoping that Buffalo is kind of crushing Atlanta, and Atlanta has to throw a ton, giving, these targets more catches. And the fact that Mike Davis is a pass-catching running back, or at least has the ability to be a pass-catching running back, we've thought last year, that would mean that he'll be just fine in that sort of game script. Whereas a guy like Josh Jacobs in a negative game script is really not going to do much for you. He has to score touchdowns or else you're fucked because the rushing attempts will go down. His amount of plays that he sees will go down. So the only thing different I think I would have done so far from Paul is probably taking Josh Jacobs to Kenny Golladay. But I know he's more of a 0 RB / later RB guy. I don't really like going hyper fragile 0 RB. Hyper fragile was invented for people that the thought behind it came from people that draft robust RB, wanting to leverage the fact that they've used a bunch of draft capital. He gets Debo, so definitely setting up his Trey Lance stack. So we'll make sure we take Trey Lance on him. No, we won't. We'll probably be looking for Matt Ryan later on ourselves. Although, we do have Brandon Ayuk. So we're pretty heavy into this game stack. We don't really need to have Matt Ryan, but it would be nice to get Matt Ryan. We would like to pick up another Bills receiver, but it doesn't really matter which one, between Emmanuel Sanders and Gabriel Davis. Kind of staying away from Cole Beasley right now because of this rage he has going against testing and vaccinations. Don't really I'm not fading him because of any opinion on what you were going to do with your body. That's your business, but I'm just fading him because it sounds like this is getting intense enough where he could end up missing games because of it. If he refuses to be tested or whatever. So far our only running back is Mike Davis. So definitely have some interest in running backs. Our next 2 picks can for sure take a wide receiver if we want. we definitely will not be taking a quarterback because we're kind of only going to take one more quarterback. We're hoping it's Matt Ryan, but if it's not Matt Ryan, that's fine. If it's not Matt Ryan, it's going to be somebody with a lower ADP because we missed on Matt Ryan. So if it's not Matt Ryan, then it's going to be, like a Derek Carr, Daniel Jones, someone like that. It goes a lot later than now. Ooh, James Robinson off the board. So I do have interest in Mostert and Damian Harris, hoping one of the two at least gets to us. After that, I have interest in Michael Carter. You can get like Melvin Gordon super later. So he's someone I'll be looking at. Far as wide receivers on the board, I have interest in Juju and Will Fuller. Just not going to be drafting a quarterback here. Though I do think this is very nice value for Hurts. So I think we're going to take Mostert. And it's kind of like tough between Juju and Damian Harris. So we do have two running backs with bye week 6 we're starting off with. That does mean that I think we're going to draft 5 running backs. All right, let's take Damian Harris. This is going to be a 5 running back build. I think Juju was the better pick there, but we kind of took Ayuk over a running back when we had that choice, and also like my ownership on Juju Smith-Schuster is absolutely insane. I have tons and tons and tons of him. Damian Harris is like a dude I'm just like fairly about. So I think like the next running back on my radar is probably Melvin Gordon. Then kind of see where it goes from there. Probably only going to draft 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends in this build, especially since we're like all kind of all in on this one game stack. So like if Kyle Pitts gets hurt, it kind of is going to wreck this whole team. Like, I mean, it might give a boost to some other piece, but the overall efficiency of the offense will go way down. So Paul's on a little bit of a hero RB. Love getting me that Kittle, Debo, Trey Lance stack. This is one of my favorites. I do definitely think, looking at his team, that like for me, I would love if Kenny Golladay was Josh Jacobs. I would be infatuated with this team. Still very good. Takes Cooks. Cooks is a nice comeback piece for game stacking the San Francisco game. So looks like he's going to be able to get a nice game stack in there. Might even be able to get like David Johnson, who I know is like very unexciting, but if you're in a game stack where you think the Texans are going to get wrecked, which is the case, like David Johnson catches a lot of passes. Championship week last year, David Johnson had a huge week because he caught so many passes. Okay, like this pick I think was kind of bad too. I would definitely have taken one of the Tampa Bay running backs over Jarvis Landry. Like there just becomes a point of diminishing returns even at wide receiver. Like the most of them you can get in your lineup in a week is 4. Like he doesn't really correlate with anything, and I think that these 2 guys are like, well, I think one of these 2 guys will be a great value pick. So I think if we were drafting out of his slot, the only real differences we would be is right now we would have Dalvin Cook, Josh Jacobs, and one of the Tampa Bay running backs. I think Fournette's better. I probably would have taken Ronald Jones because I have more Fournette, and we would be minus Kenny Golladay and Jarvis Landry. So we'd have probably, something like Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, Samuel Laviska, and Brandon Cooks, and George Kittle. George Kittle is one of my most owned players. I think he's like number 3 or 2. I know J.K. Dobbins I own more J.K. Dobbins. I might own more Trey Sermon as well. But I just own like tons of Sermon and Mustard, both. If one of the Tampa Bay running backs gets us, we're probably going to be pretty excited about that. Probably not going to take Russell Gage on account of we already have Ridley and Pitts. I don't really like to go to a third target. So just think of that when you're game stacking on DFS, you don't want 3 targets. Like people don't game stack for the Millionaire Maker and pick a quarterback in 3 targets. They stick to 2. There's definitely been a negative correlation I've seen in win percentage when you get to the third target. That's from data I've mined from 2019 from draft that I got when I was working with Big Dogs Fantasy. So we're hoping one of Melvin Gordon and Ronald Jones makes it to us. If they both make it to us, ooh, that's nice. I think we're just going to go Ronald Jones, Melvin Gordon, and then we are going to go hard on the no more RBs. So we have now drafted 1 million running backs, unsurprisingly. But like, I love the upside of all 5 of these running backs. And we have a very, very nice start at wide receiver. It's going to be a little interesting here. So one of the reasons why I picked 2 running backs there also is like my favorite my favorite wide receivers on the board were Jets. We already have 2 bye week 6 wide receivers. Not a big deal. We're going to definitely have enough wide receivers to have 3 with the same bye week. But also when you're kind of deciding to mix things up in certain spots, I just used bye weeks as like a tiebreaker. Like I do think if Ronald Jones and Melvin Gordon hadn't both made it to us, I definitely would have picked a wide receiver there. I just felt pretty lucky to get a chance to pick both of them at that turn. So that was 4 straight running backs we picked. And now we will not be taking another one in this draft. It's funny, we have like the complete like opposite strategies going here. He's got 1 running back, I have 5. So I'm interested to see if he goes with the hyper fragile and only like hero RB and hyper fragile. So like 1 RB in the first 6 rounds and only 4 RBs. I personally don't like that strategy. I don't think it's going to work out. I think hyper fragile only worked because of, the amount of draft capital. That is a huge get for him, though. AJ Dillon, way, 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 way too late. Insane value on AJ Dillon. So if he can get a few picks like that, although I think AJ Dillon was the last pick like that available. It was a massive, massive pickup for him. I think that helps his team out a ton. If AJ Dillon hits ceiling and Dalvin Cook hits ceiling, this team is now in serious business. So I do think now, looking at his team, maybe taking Kenny Golladay over Josh Jacobs was fine, but I definitely think taking Jarvis Landry over Tampa running back was bad. I think his team would look best. I mean, it's easy to reverse engineer this when you're like going through the draft and seeing who drops and stuff. But I think reverse engineering it, that his team would look best if he had taken Golladay over Jacobs, but had taken a Tampa running back over Jarvis Landry. So we're pretty much only interested in wide receivers, Matt Ryan, tight end, like 1 more tight end, which I don't think we really have to pick this go around. the next like bunch of tight ends are kind of whatever. So some interest in Aguilar, some interest in the Indianapolis wide receivers. Not going to take Cole Beasley here. I'll wait to go around and see if we can get Emmanuel Sanders. Or maybe even later. Somebody take Emmanuel Sanders already. It's still available. I'm going to take Aguilar here. I own more of the indie guys than I do Aguilar. So I'm like constantly trying to set up Carson Wentz stacks because I think he's an incredible value. So at this point, we're just taking wide receivers and a tight end, so we can click off QB. So, like I said, this is, one time that we've pushed this game stack where we drafted, pretty poorly for ADP to get those first couple guys, and we won't be doing that again. So I'm interested to see, did we pick up ADP anywhere? We picked up a half a round of Marvin Jones. That's about it. So we're definitely we're now down to about a half a round or so. Where's it, Josh Allen? It'd be interesting to see how this team turns out. I kind of want to earmark this team and just see what happens with it. So Paul's big Latavius Murray guy. He's a dude that I pretty much just do not draft. I'm interested to see what the upside would be without Alvin Kamara this year. I think a lot of that team depends on who's quarterback. And last year, it seemed like they used a lot more Latavius Murray when Taysom Hill was in. Taysom Hill was in. Latavius Murray got more carries. Obviously, if Alvin Kamara gets hurt early on, the problem with going hero, RB, and with hyper fragile is you just don't have time to make it up. So in a full season pod, you have so many weeks to make it up. But this is in these tournaments, you're cut 3 weeks short to get out of your first pod. Your first pod, ends week 14 instead of getting to go all the way through to week 17. Lots of wide receivers I like on the board. Tight end is getting pretty gross. Wonder if there's, I do think we could wait another round for tight ends for sure. If we so choose. It'll probably depend. Love Christian Kirk this year at his ADP, so. Emmanuel Sanders off the board. That's a tough beat for us. Probably going to take a tight end here. I wouldn't have if more of these wide receivers I liked had lasted, but could go with like Perryman, Brian Edwards, and then trying to get like Hooper next round. I don't hate that. I kind of have too much Brian Edwards, so I'm going to pass on Brian Edwards. I'm going to take Perryman. So Gronk is a guy I have like none of. All right, let's do that. Oh, we're down to just taking wide receivers now. It's a little unfortunate for our Buffalo side of the game stack. We only ended up with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, but that is kind of Buffalo's offense. Naheem Hines, nice pickup for Paul there. So this is working out for him better than expected, mainly because I think he got pretty lucky where how far AJ Dillon fell. I would not have expected him to be able to get him. For me, this would be a 5 running back build. I'd probably end with like McKinnon, but I think that he will stick to these 4. He also only has 1 tight end and 1 quarterback so far. Assume. Ooh, Cousins went off the board. That's kind of a little bit of a blow for him. I guess I'll get Daniel Jones here to go with Golladay, and that'll be pretty good to go. Yeah. Definitely would think it would be a mistake if he had passed Daniel Jones to the guy with 0 quarterbacks there. He's probably going to be forced to take another quarterback right here. Or no, sorry, he has 2 now. I was thinking he only had 1. He takes Brian Edwards. Tight end could get quite dicey for him. Like, for me, these top 3 are like the last 3 I want in a 2 tight end build. Like, anyone below this, so like I only want them if I'm doing a 3 tight end build. I am okay with Cook, Jarwin, or Hooper in a 2 tight end build, though. Us, we'll be looking at kind of like the usual suspects, hoping like Kadarius Toney falls to us. He's a guy I have infinity of. If we want to, we can grab Dawson Knox as our last pick to kind of go into our Buffalo game stack, but pretty much if Pitts isn't good in that game stack, then we're probably fucked anyway, so don't really think that's necessary. There's only like 3 wide receivers on the board that I'm super excited to get. I would almost guarantee this person takes a wide receiver. Then I'm not sure about the next. Ooh. Nice. So we did get 2 of the 3 wide receivers I was hoping would drop to us. Double Detroit wide receiver. Probably not that good. But I mean, they're decent value picks for sure. So we were looking to finish it off with 2 wide receivers. Our bye week breakdown for our wide receivers is very nice. We're not too. We only have 2 of any bye week, so if we want to grab pretty much any week we want, we can. I definitely don't go to 4. I've seen lots of people that go to 4, and that's not for me. I really do believe that. So when I first started doing these, I had like 100 teams my first year, which is less than the last few. I really started to that year to actually go through and look at all my teams on Wednesday because I'm a sick person like that. And I did get to notice how badly like a dud week just drops you. Like a super dud week dropped like a team I had in the first place to like 5th place. So I really, really try to stay away from that. Having a heavy bye week. So like I really try to stay away from 4 wide receivers the same bye week. So I do think tight end has reached the point. Like I think Paul's only going to take 2, but at this point of just atrocious, I would probably take 3. Like I probably would have picked a tight end over Bryan Edwards in this case when he was going because I would have been too scared that I didn't get one back that I thought was decent. I also don't draft 2 quarterbacks in Trey Lance builds. I know Paul does. I'm on the side of I don't think you can hope that one quarterback can get you through with half the season. Like with Trey Lance possibly missing half the tournament season. So I'm projecting him to start week 7, which means he's going to miss 6 of the 14 weeks that you have for this tournament. And like, if you go look at Daniel Jones' schedule, starts off with like Denver and Washington, I believe. Like, dude, so far behind the 8 ball if just Daniel Jones has 2 dud weeks. Like, Daniel Jones could have a great season and still like stink weeks 1 and 2 because those are just terrible matchups. So I myself would not be going with Trey Lance and only one other quarterback. But I am wrong a lot. There's a bunch of smarter people than me that do like 2 quarterback Trey Lance builds. There are also people smarter than me that don't like Trey Lance 2 quarterback builds. I know I talked with I heard Justin Herzig talking on the Peter Overzet video, and he was basically explaining why he does not like 2 quarterback Trey Lance builds, and all made sense to me. I didn't really need to hear that to not like those builds, but it kind of cemented me into my thinking that I do not like them. So here we're hoping for 2 of like Mims, Deshaun Jackson, Hamler, Nico. Really like can't draft anymore. Mims, I've been drafting him in the last couple rounds very recently, but I just still have a ton of ownership on him because I was really high on him to begin this draft season. I did not expect that Jamison Crowder would still be a Jet. I'm just going to take Hamler and Nico Collins. Those are kind of my usual end of draft guys. So I think for an absolutely forced game stack where we took 2 players pretty much out of ADP, this team ended up pretty damn good. Like quarterback is fantastic. Running back is like very good considering we didn't take one to round 5. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this running back group is great. So don't hear what I'm not saying. But considering we didn't take a running back until round 5, this is a really, really strong group. I think we got a little lucky to get both Ronald Jones and Melvin Gordon at that turn. Ronald Jones usually goes before then. So like if he had been gone, I would have probably taken something like Melvin Gordon and A.J. Dillon or Melvin Gordon and a wide receiver. We did only get the 1 stack piece for Josh Allen, but it's kind of the only stack piece that really matters for Josh Allen. So Diggs, Ridley, Ayuk, Aguilar, Perryman, Tyrell Williams, Kadarius Toney, KJ Hamler, Nico Collins. I think that this wide receiver group is pretty great. I mean, it's not as good as like the zero RB teams, like by any means, obviously. But like this is a really nice trio to start with. I think Aguilar is like very, very strong. The Detroit guys, one of them will probably work out. So, I mean, it's going to come down to these three guys. And kind of my entire probably best ball season is going to come down to these three guys. Like, I need one of these three guys to hit hard. And basically just need KJ Hamler to not be a complete dud, which could happen if, what's his face? I wonder who the other tight end Pollard after was. I go the completely wrong. So he drafted Hayden Hurst, same bye week at George Kittle. That's the problem. I think if he doesn't take another tight end, then this is a major mistake. I would probably take OJ Howard or Dawson Knox. Can't take Chris Herndon because he's also the same bye week. Guy before him takes Freiermuth. Please, Paul. Take another tight end. No. So do you think that was a major mistake? He ended up auto-zeroing a week at tight end. Now, how big a deal is that? Having a 0-point tight end week, not the end of the world, right? But when you're also factoring in only two quarterbacks with a Trey Lance build and having to rely on only Daniel Jones for some amount of weeks. Obviously, if Trey Lance starts week 1, fucking to the moon for the people that are doing the two quarterback Trey Lance builds. I'll be slamming 2 quarterback Trey Lance builds the moment I know that he's starting week 1. I just don't have the balls to be doing it now and like planning ahead because I'm just like hyper focused on getting some amount of my Trey Lance teams through to the finals, like, or at least through pod 1, so that I have him for the tournament championship weeks. And I think your chances to greatly go up when you have a third quarterback. Like I said, though, if you strongly feel the other way, don't like take my advice and start changing what you're doing. There's a lot of people that are on both ends of that spectrum. There's experts that love the 2 quarterback Lance builds. There's experts that don't love the 2 quarterback Lance builds. So whatever you feel, I think you should stick with if you're a person watching this video. For me, they're going to be 3s. For Paul, they're 2s. For like Justin, they're 3s. And for Josh Larkey, they're 2s. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video and good luck in your drafts.